On this episode, talking schedules.
That's my line. Hi everybody, welcome back to another edition of Tiger TV. I am your host, Spiker Helms. I'm here with our owner, Aaron Jaworowski, and I'm here with our general manager, David Birkby, and we are going to talk about schedules. We've worked really hard, diligently, searching the country and talking to tournament directors and really trying to nail down a solid schedule for all of our teams. So we're going to head right into it. The first question for Dave is, what is the engineering and the design behind the schedule? Like,
sure.
What is it that we look for? What is it that we do with the schedule?
Well, I think when us three meet in November and we start to format our schedules, we really have three things in mind at all time when formatting our schedules. Number one, recruiting and exposure. Number two, competition. And then number three, making sure that we have a great destination and experience for our families. And I think that kind of differs when you talk about certain age groups. So for instance, for a 15-year-old age group, we don't necessarily think too much on the recruiting side of things because, I mean, you coached 15U 2 years ago. How many scouts did you have show up?
I mean, there was maybe one guy that came out and be like, "Hey, what do you got?" And then I'm like, "This," and he's like, "All right, see ya."
Right.
Like, it was one of those deals. Like, "Hey, can I just want to circle names, see who you guys have, and just kind of take a note."
And especially up here in the Midwest, I mean, we don't have kids getting recruited at 15 years old. So we're focused far more on making sure that we're finding the best competition possible for our teams to expose them to higher levels of competition, get them better, get them prepared for the next year of high school baseball and beyond. And also making sure that we have a great experience set up for our families. Because when we look at, in terms of getting outside of St. Louis, I mean, this is a family experience for our players and families. So we want to make sure that we provide that for them. And then as you get older into the 16 and 17-year-old age groups, that's really when the recruiting starts to kick in. Yeah. So that's when we start to make sure that we're finding the best tournaments that we possibly can get to, where the college scouts are going to be at. Mm-hmm. So that's when that variable jumps in and becomes much more important for us. We're still really interested in the competition value and the experience value, but at 16 and 17-year-old tournaments, we're looking for definitely some recruiting and exposure to occur. And making sure we're finding and talking to the scouts and finding out where they're going to be and making sure that we get our teams there in order to showcase our players. And then as we get to the 18-year-old level, I mean, those guys are pretty much already signed by that time for the most part. So we're, again, hopping back to the experience and competition factor for them.
But it's also preparing them for that college level, because that's the biggest misconception is that you see.
I agree.
I agree. Is the players, they say, you know what, I'm just going to take the summer off, I'm going to get myself rested up, and the next thing you know, and they jump in, they're like, wow, that senior can mash.
Yeah, well, they get into college in September or August, and they're competing for a job, you know, and they didn't play that summer after their senior year, whether it's us or a college summer league somewhere, but they need to play. You can't go into college and take 2 months off and go compete against juniors and seniors, you know, 2, 3, 4 years older than you. Yep. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Now, what's the most exciting aspect of the schedule? When you were looking at the schedule and we were planning it out, like, what's the biggest thing that just jumps out at you?
Well, for us, I jumped to week 7, and we have, I think, 12 or 13 teams are on the road. Yeah. So to get our club and our brand in 12 different cities the same weekend, that's pretty neat to think about for me.
And we didn't even mean to do that. Just end up just laying out that way. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is actually really cool. Yeah. This is really cool. So what about you? When you saw the schedule, what did you think?
I just get pumped about the whole schedule. I mean, we put a lot of work into this as a club, both from our players to our parents and our staff. Yeah. I mean, from fall baseball all the way on to our winter training, and then they leave us to go play for their high schools, and then we get them. I mean, that's when our season kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. So I really look forward to that every year. I enjoy the whole 2-month process.
Now, with our just so they know too, our schedule there's 13 high school teams.
Yes.
And the schedule's comprised of.
And this is the St. Louis Tigers. St. Louis Tigers. Indiana Tigers have the same model, but
Yes, different amount of teams.
Yep.
And so our schedule this summer is comprised of 102 events, and 44 are travel, and then the rest are local in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So it's a big project to engineer and make sure everything's set and it flows. And you know, like Dave said, you got recruiting is a huge factor, and competition and the experience. It's got to be spot on. That's us. That's our season. That's our families. They need that experience.
Well, even just not the baseball, it's the hotels too.
Hotels are a big one.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And we have Sandy that helps us out with that. But
Sandy is
huge.
wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
she has the hotels down to a T. Pretty much, I think every travel event now is stay and play. That's pretty standard across the country. So we're booking blocks within preset, standards we had to follow. And she's got the block set, and families will start calling in pretty soon on those hotels.
Yeah. Now, what facility do you like? What you think is the top facility right now? And then I'll cater that over to Jaws.
Probably for me, and I'll touch base on, because I coach some of the recruiting teams for the Tigers, and the best facility that was, I think, just built a couple of years ago has been Grand Park in Indianapolis. I don't know the exact acreage of it, but it is a massive facility with several different quads of high school-sized fields. Some are fully turfed, some are half turf with grass outfields. But it's set up as definitely the best recruiting park in the Midwest. And when we went there last year for their 17-year-old amateur baseball championships, and we handed out well over 50 rosters to not only Division I schools, but Division II, Division III, junior college schools there. So I think that's my personal favorite.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, and I think, well, to go on day two, I think that's unique because if you get a complex like that, it's going to drive a lot of scouts and recruiters because it's one destination and they can see 4 different games going on at the same time. But then you got the other side of it, which I think is cool, is like a Cincy Flames, for example. They use so many college fields, and Mid-America does a phenomenal job with that. And we're in 4 or 5 different fields in a single city, so the scouts are moving around. So it's a different style. There's also a really great park that I've been to up in Milwaukee, and it's called the Rock Complex.
Yeah.
And I think it's 4 or 6. It's all turf fields, and they're kind of shaped after minor league fence dimensions, and they got a cool, like an upper veranda overlooking the whole park for parents to hang out, which gets back to the experience. We sent 2 teams there last year and sending 2 or 15s this year. It's called the Rock in Milwaukee.
But, and we haven't mentioned the new ballpark down in Springfield, not Ballparks of America, that's youth side, but the U.S. ballpark down, it's kind of on the outskirts of Springfield and going into the Ozark area. It's the old Price Cutter ballpark.
It's right by Lambert's.
Yeah, right by Lambert's.
Place.
But the field is unbelievable, and I think that's going to be a pretty premier field.
They just turfed it.
Yeah,
whole thing's turf.
They just turfed it.
Yep. So the old coach at Drury got involved there, and we're sending a 17U group there this year. And,
And the biggest thing, so even though we talked about Indy and we talked about Mid-America, like scouts go anywhere, but and we try to place those teams in those areas. So Nashville, Cincinnati, something that's in a close mile parameter for all the fields that the scouts are moving around. So ends up being a very good and lucrative for scouts to see those teams. So, anything else you guys want to mention on the schedule aspect at all?
No, maybe, Spiker, you had a big part of it, with me. Kind of Dave voices his opinion on the big events, and he's more the recruiting side. But then me and you are more on the day-to-day to make sure it all flows. What are some schedule patterns you look for when we lay it out?
When I schedule it out and I look at it, obviously recruiting being one of the big things for the older age groups. So the 17s and 18s and then kind of 16s is going that way too. But it's really going to be on the experience and the development. Are we putting our guys in the right aspect to develop, to give them the best opportunity when they head to Dave's age group, which is 17, 18. So that's what I look at. I look at those trends, and also I try to put them in places that they're going to be able to do stuff. I don't want to send them way down in like Mississippi in a really small town. Like it's going to have to be a bigger town, like a Nashville, a Cincinnati, a Chicago, Milwaukee, those type of places.
Which again, I think that's incredibly important because when these kids are 19, 20 years old and hopefully playing college baseball, they're going to come back in winter and talk to their families about this great experience they had as a 17-year-old in Nashville. So I think that's incredibly important.
Well, even playing on those college fields. That's another thing. Like going to Wichita State, like Wichita looks like a small town, but really you have Wichita State right there, and that campus is unbelievable. The stadium is immaculate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
I think that is probably the coolest part is playing it. The kids get to play in those fields.
Yeah.
And we played at University of Louisville, Wichita State, Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
Mizzou, Arkansas. I mean, the list goes on, and these kids get to play in these facilities.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a blast.
yeah. So, all right, guys, that is the episode. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Like us on Facebook. We're always putting Facebook Live up. Right now, we're on Periscope with Josh behind the camera. You can't see him right now, but he's doing a fantastic job holding. He's trying not to shake it right now. So until next time, guys, see ya.